For a period of time, it seemed like everything had to have zombies in it. While those undead nightmares had been shambling around long before in games such as Resident Evil and film masterpieces by George Romero, it really felt that after the millennium, zombies were suddenly everywhere. Films, TV shows, board games, video games, comics, novels, you name it, it felt like everything was better with a side order of zombies, so much so that it seems to have become its own subgenre. And then, in 2010, just as zombies might have started to rest in peace once more, The Walking Dead launched them into a whole new stratosphere of popularity. And now, in 2021, saying that the zombie genre is oversaturated is a little bit like saying Cyberpunk wasn't totally finished when it released. But who is to complain if we get hordes of these creatures? I love zombie films, games, and novels, and now with the possible leak of a new Dead Island 2 trailer that many are actually sadly declaring fake, the excitement in fans seems to be rising to even greater heights after seeing that the video suggests a release date of the year 2021, this year. Hello everyone, I'm Roy McCoy, and this time the video is all about Dead Island 2, and even though there was that potential trailer leak, the authenticity of which is being debated, that isn't the focus of this video, because in the end, it doesn't really matter whether that particular video is real or not because I don't care, but because I'm pretty certain that at some point, we will be getting a Dead Island 2, just as a new Time Splitters and Saints Row will also be coming. The thing is that the hype for these games is way too big for the developers not to release something. However, it's what that something is that actually worries me. Now, going back to that trailer, personally, I'm dubious as to whether it's actually real because the developer at the start says Jaeger, and I'm pretty sure they left the project 2 developers ago, at least, and that the current developers, Dambuster's Studio, their owners have pretty much said we won't be seeing anything at E3, but as I said, I'm pretty sure that Dead Island 2 is coming at some point. Like I said, that's not really the question that's on my mind. And before we go on, please do remember to drop this video a like if you are a fan of Dead Island 2, as it really helps this video to grow. So, back to the undead. My 2 most popular videos on my channel have both been about zombie games. What happened to Dead Island 2 and where is Dying Light 2? Sadly, only one of those questions has got an answer so far, in the knowledge that Dying Light 2 finally has a release date on December the 7th, 2021. But with Dead Island 2 not scheduled to make an appearance at E3, again, I'm still left wondering what happened to it. In fact, if you look into the comments of that video, many of them simply say things like, "Who cares about Dead Island 2? Dying Light 2 is happening," or "I thought that was already a thing," either mistaking it for Riptide or simply thinking it must have happened in the length of time since that cinematic trailer. And there were even some humorous comments about questioning whether Dead Island 2 knew that California wasn't actually an island, and stating that I would probably be making another video about Dead Island 2 a year from now. And I had no intention of doing that. But here it is. But I didn't just want to make What Happened to Dead Island 2 Part 2, because I've actually found myself asking a new question. With Dying Light 2 on the way and all this time that's passed, does Dead Island 2 actually still matter? The first thing we have to address are those comments that say, "Who cares now that Dying Light is coming?" Well, I do. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other people do too. But that doesn't mean I have to exclusively care about one or the other. Now, I wondered for a while if it was like choosing sides, almost to the point of being brand loyal, which I don't really do. I mean, I may mainly talk about PlayStation, but I also own an Xbox, a Switch, and a gaming PC because I want to play all the greatest games I can, despite what platform it drops on. And going back to franchise loyalty, being labelled GTA clones didn't mean I missed out on the superb Sleeping Dogs or incredible Saints Row series. And when it comes to Dead Island 2 and Dying Light 2, I want to play both. I have played so many zombie games. Lollipop Chainsaw, the Dead Rising games, 7 Days to Die, Days Gone, DayZ, The Left 4 Deads, Resident Evil and its 5 million sequels and spin-offs, Zombie, They Are Billions, the list goes on, and I always want to play more and more of them, and on top of that, I definitely think there's space for at least 2 more first-person zombie games. So that kind of answers the question whether or not there's still room for it, but not really whether or not that specific game matters. And maybe it's not about brand loyalty. Maybe it's just people thinking that Dying Light is a better game. And in some ways, Dying Light is the evolution of Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide. All 3 of those titles were made by Techland, so it kind of makes sense that there are some similarities. But for me, There's a definite change, a distinct difference between Dying Light and Dead Island. And no, I'm not just talking about the free running. Now, usually games have to evolve because, as with all things, there does seem to be a risk of burnout or becoming stale. What was once a tried and tested format becomes predictable. So, like a marriage of 40 years, directors try to spice it up once more, and zombie films and games are no exceptions. Suddenly we had running zombies in 28 Days Later that weren't technically zombies, thinking zombies in Day of the Dead and Land of the Dead, Nazi zombies in Call of Duty, and films that started becoming satirical takes on the genre such as Cockneys vs Zombies, Shaun of the Dead, and Zombieland. The list goes on and on. Film and game directors are doing their best to keep the undead genre alive. And I think, looking back, it was an issue I had between the first Dead Island and Riptide. There was no real evolution. I mean, alright, partially it wasn't a total sequel, it was more like a standalone DLC, but reading the opening paragraph of Riptide's Wikipedia page doesn't make it sound very exciting. It reads, Riptide serves as a continuation of the story to 2011's Dead Island, with the original 4 survivors, plus a new survivor, arriving on another island in the Banoi archipelago, which has also been overrun by zombies. In other words, same characters, similar location, same scenario. It doesn't sound very evolved, and while more of the same isn't always a bad thing, I do think there needs to be some progression. No. It's actually easier to talk about the evolution between Dead Island and Dying Light, which is where I think you can find the answer to the question of whether Dead Island 2 still matters. Now, of course, when comparing these two games, there are some similarities. Both were made by Techland, and both are open-world zombie-killing action games. But with Dying Light, there was the addition of a day and night cycle, which saw zombies becoming more aggressive when the sun went down, different zombie types, and those free-running mechanics. But when you look at the two games side by side, there is a very distinct difference in terms of tone. Dying Light has a dark and gritty tone. The post-apocalyptic wasteland you run through is a bleak experience. The addition of that day and night cycle adds a different dynamic of threat to the experience, and the parkour mechanics increases its level of action. In short, if you compared this to a film, it feels very much like a gritty action film with zombies. Compare that to the colourful, vibrant world of Dead Island set on a tropical island, it brings with it more of a B-movie vibe, which in no way is meant as a disrespect to a game that I love. It's kind of the same way that I look at George Romero's classic Dawn of the Dead and Zack Snyder's remake. Two films with similar scenarios but vastly different executions. I love both films, and while I'm sure some of Romero's purists and the Snyder haters will tell me how wrong I am to enjoy both, they both do something very different for me. And I love both despite the other's existence. I see them as two entirely separate entities. While I enjoy the social commentary, classic cinematography, engaging narrative, and slow-paced zombies always looming around the corner in Romero's work, I also love the running, relentless action feel and gorgeous colours of the cinematography in Snyder's work. And that's not to say that Dead Island is the Romero film and Dying Light is the Snyder version. I don't see it in that way, but I wanted to reinforce the point that I think that the two games can exist despite the other. But for me, it's the evolution of these two games that really answers why Dead Island 2 still matters. Dying Light 2 looks to take the series further down into that bleak apocalyptic route, adding more RPG mechanics and saying things like your choices matter. The footage we've seen so far looks gritty and intense, and on a surface level, it promises to possibly be one of my favourite ever games, if they manage to pull it off. But they've given themselves a good amount of time before December to get it finished, so I have hope. While Dead Island 2, if it does ever get finished, seems to be taking the franchise even further down the B-movie route. But sadly, on that front, we only have the cinematic trailer to judge it on, some leaked footage from a previous build, and this new trailer, which looks pretty old but genuine. I'll put a link in the description. But the comedic elements from that trailer, the pompous, arrogant guy jogging down the beach, blissfully unaware of the apocalypse kicking off behind him before getting taken down, and his shoes being scooped up by an unseen assailant that sounds a little bit like Jack Black. And it's kind of funny, and it looks vibrant again. Now, ironically, we know with most games, and especially Dead Island, we can't judge a game by its cinematic trailer. Looking back at that iconic video of a child being turned into a zombie and thrown out of a window that was used to promote the first game, it suggested Dead Island would be a savage, gritty, and heart-wrenching game that it just wasn't, and it's proof that we can't trust these kind of trailers. And then this new trailer, the guy speaking sounds a little bit like Jack Black, but it's not him. I think it's actually Max Wingert, who voiced Kung Fu Panda in the TV series, so actually a Jack Black impersonator, which is why it sounds like him anyway. But if you watch this trailer, and you should, it is really funny, and it is totally pushing the eccentric humour and ridiculousness that can only be found in the best B-movies. So, if they do manage to make Dead Island 2 in the vein of its cinematic trailers, comedic elements, and also furthering that B-movie style that we saw in the leaked footage, then this is why Dead Island 2 still matters. Because both the original and its potential evolution does something that Dying Light just doesn't. That B-movie and vibrant vibe. Add some more comedic elements to its format, and I think you've got a winner on your hands. You could take the levels of violence up to the extreme, add some ridiculous weapons like something from Dead Rising, some humorous scenarios that would look more at home in something like Shaun of the Dead or Zombieland, and Dead Island 2 would very much stand on its own, far detached from Dying Light. So yes, Dead Island 2 does still matter. There is very much room for that colourful, vibrant B-movie game. But that question, the one that I asked last time, still stands. Aside from it actually mattering, which, in my opinion, it does, I still want to know, will it actually ever get made? It's been 7 years since that announcement, and been through the hands of several developers, and all we've got are drips of news. The game, as far as we know, is still in the works. That's the official line. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure we will get something one day, because the hype is too big to not cash in. There will be a Dead Island 2, whichever developer ends up making it. And I hope that one day I get to make a video saying, Dead Island 2 is coming. Dead Island 2 is coming and it looks amazing. Here is hoping. But the question I now wonder is, in what state will that finished game actually be in? It's been in development for a long time. And a lot of that, if reports are accurate, has been in development hell. I mean, this question of what state it will drop in is something that I could ask about Dying Light 2 as well. But on that front, I genuinely have faith Techland can pull it off. As for Dead Island 2, it would be really easy to make some lazy comparisons to Cyberbug right now. Really, I think Biomutant is more of a case of reference. That game was in development for a very long time, drip feeds of news, and apparently also in development hell before finally releasing. And if many of the opinions I've come across are right, it's all a bit underwhelming, and I don't want the same thing to happen to Dead Island 2, to spend years on everyone's wishlist before finally releasing and just kind of petering out. Because while it matters now, I still want it to matter when it releases, and not just drift into obscurity. And as for this latest trailer, well, it was nice while it lasted, that little bit of joy. And maybe I'm wrong, I hope it turns out to be real, or that we get something soon, very soon, because it's a game I've been waiting for a very long time, but when it comes, like Saints Row and Time Splitters, it needs to be done right. And hopefully it follows in the comedic B-movie eccentric style of that trailer. And kind of that trailer made a bit of sense. At the end of the day, why wouldn't they want to release it in 2021? They could easily cash in on the success of Dying Light 2. And it would make total sense, but who knows when we're actually going to see it. So until Dead Island 2 actually finally comes out, we still have Dying Light 2 to look forward to in December this year. Let me know in the comments below if you would disagree or agree with anything I've said. But all that leaves me to do is say thank you very much for watching, and this is Roy McCoy, out!